Chosen Family. Look, is she on Mars? Doesn't it look like the images of the rover from Mars? It's Trish on vacation. Where are you, dear?
I am outside of Lake Havasu on BLM land boondocking, meaning that we're off the grid, no electricity or power. We've got cool little here I'll show you. We've got cool little things like, oh, maybe I won't show you. Like a battery that helps all the things work that we've been charging, and we were using our solar, and yeah, it's been a really fun little exploration.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Well, I want to welcome anybody watching. Thank you, Joyce. Joyce, you are always so wonderful about watching on Facebook and sharing our video out. So a big thank you to Joyce, and welcome John in the Zoom room. And want to invite anybody that is interested, come on into the Zoom room and join us because, and I'll put the link into Facebook. We're going to celebrate a little bit about what we've done. We've been doing Straight Talk for a year. It's been a year. And so we're going to celebrate. We're going to talk a little bit about some of our previous shows, but we also want your feedback and input as we plan for the future. You know, how much do you want to see about racism, social justice, sex, racial justice, economics,
Dependency.
codependency, yeah, all that stuff. You know, like what do you want to see us talking about? Um, we've got some really fun stuff coming up soon. Two of our dearest friends who've just written books. Next week, we're going to have Elizabeth April, who just wrote a book that came out last week. And then the week after that, our good friend Alan Steinfeld, who also has a new book coming out. So that's going to be the next couple of weeks. But then beyond that, we're like planning, and we really want to hear from you what you want to see. So welcome, John from Norfolk. I want to acknowledge John is also, he's like always the first person on Saturday Night Live. He's been coming here a lot. So John, thank you. Welcome, Bridget. And we really appreciate you being with us. Trish, I'm going to put the spotlight on you for a moment and ask you what stands out for you for the previous Straight Talks we've done. Like when you think about Straight Talk and the past, what comes to mind?
First, I just want to say happy anniversary, Scott.
Yeah.
um, hmm. Gosh, there's been so many good ones. I feel like, wow. I don't know. I'm there's just been a lot. It's been delightfully random a lot of the time. I loved the ones with the Wall of Moms, with Antoinette Rootsdata. I loved, gosh, Mark Sims. I always love Mark Sims. He's like
Yeah.
a super delightful man. Just on a purely like human level, and then on a whole other alien level is a whole other aspect of Mark. Um, oh, what was the you were part of this multi-day experience with Sadiq. What was that? Like I
Right. Earthwalk United. It was Earthwalk United.
the aspecting between
Oh,
the
we had like 12 different people we were trying to squeeze in. Right.
whoa.
Right.
But what I loved about that one is I love aspecting. You know, my whole love for Gestalt, and um, when one part or one piece has a conversation with another piece, or a part of like Trisha's whatever is talking to her, like if whatever I loved that piece. I just loved how interesting that conversation got. Um, when we had Michael on. Oh, when we had the dance and inspiration one. Oh man, that was so good. Man, I don't know. I think they've all been so touching and informative in so many ways. There's been so much knowledge just brought to the Friday night evening, right? There's been so much heart. There's been so much truth that has come out, and um, where I'd like to see it go a little bit is really touching more on all the systems of oppression,
Mhm.
like that sexism, the way that we're trained to be codependent, the way that we're trained to, you know, like the same and demonize the other. Like, and that's basically what oppressive beliefs are. And it's just, that's what I'd really like to focus on a little bit, is to give people an opportunity to have a real conversation with people who are loving, the two of us, and also people who really have the information and the expertise on this.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I actually, in a moment, I'm going to pull up some of the posters just to kind of review a little bit. But, you know, it does feel, and I guess this might sound slightly political, but it does feel like since the beginning of the year that we are going back into a kinder, more connected time with each other. Now, obviously, there's still tremendous racism and social injustice, and we have such a long way to go. But it does feel to me that we have a obviously much less divisive president. And it does energetically feel like things are getting better, you know. Um, Obviously, you know, the COVID restrictions are lightening up a little bit. Um, we're a little more free to travel, a little bit more free to hug each other. Um, and I'm noticing that the conversations online are less divisive. You know, it's kind of like there was a real struggle over the election, you know, and, you know, I don't know, a large percentage of people wanted the other guy to win, you know, and to be reelected. But it seems like people have kind of, for the most part, accepted what's happening, and we're moving forward. And I certainly want for Straight Talk to find that balance of always being fun, but really tackling some of the challenging things of the past. I want to welcome Andrea and Margot and John and Charlotte in our Zoom room. And we would love to hear from you. And likewise, those of you watching on Facebook periodically, while Trish is talking and sharing things, I'll take a look, or she'll take a look, and we'll see what's going on in Facebook land. I want to acknowledge that the show did start with Roxy. Roxy was,
Hi, Roxy.
and so I've pulled up a really fun video. It's not the very first video with Roxy, but it was a video that Roxy, Trish, and I did together. And it was called Let's Talk About Sex. And I actually watched this video last night. I was just going to find a clip, and it was so good. I got wrapped up in it and ended up watching almost the entire thing. We're not going to watch the entire thing now, but I do want to watch the beginning as a way of acknowledging Roxy, who helped start this show and whom we love very, very much. So here we go.
I miss Roxy.
I know. She might come in tonight. There's a slight chance. She's on the East Coast, so it's kind of past her bedtime, and she's cuddling with her lover probably, but there's a tiny chance she'll pop up with us. So
I'm Love Coach Scott DeThomas, and it's Straight Talk with both Trish and Roxy tonight, which makes it very, very special. For any of you who don't know, in the beginning there was Roxy, and it was good. Roxy has started the show together, and then she had only committed to 6 weeks. She was very clear about that. And Trish came in for like last 2 or 3 weeks, and Trish and I have taken off and run with it. And actually, starting next week, we're going to have a slight title change. It's going to be Straight Talk for the Global Peace Tribe, as it's been kind of an offshoot of the Saturday Night Live for the Global Peace Tribe project and program. But I'm not going to talk that much tonight because we're talking about sex. I ain't had none for a while. So we're going to have to let the ladies who have, I think I do remember what it's like. But this was actually inspired by Roxanne. And so I'm going to put the spotlight on Roxy for a minute. And what would you like to share? Because there's a beautiful quote which we put into our flyer that is really what became the inspiration for this, all about presence and your greater awareness about presence. So
Scott, you need to unmute.
About a year, last year. And I noticed as it started to deepen, the past few times that this person has left.
I'm pausing for a moment. Are you able to hear it okay?
When you muted, we couldn't hear anything. You have to share your audio.
Well, that's interesting. You know what? I think I know what I need to do. Are you enjoying seeing Roxy?
Even after an entire year of all of these videos and things, we're still going to Zoom school.
So, oh, I know. I forgot to do optimize sound. Okay.
Go back home, and I'm being anonymous with them on purpose. Or the past few times that I left their place to come back to my home, I had a hard time being present with my lover here, who's been a long-term partner of mine, whose name I'll leave out of this because they're very private. And I realized that in order for me to really deeply expand my heart to be able to really deeply love these two people, that I need to ground back down into my presence. And I've been doing open relationship very successfully, very healthfully for almost a decade now, which I know for some people is nothing, but for some people it's a lot. And it's a substantial amount of time. And I've had, I had 2 long-term girlfriends. I had a girlfriend for 8 years. For the duration of this, I have a husband of a decade, and I had another girlfriend for 6 years. And I've had, lovers in between them. And somehow I was always able to stay present in the midst of that. But there is something qualitatively different about this new relationship that I have with this man. It's a man. I currently have 2 men in my life. One I've been with for a long time, and then the other one is this new man. And I noticed I was coming home, and I just thought, I'm not with my other man across the country, and I'm not at home with my man here. I'm just sad, missing my lover. And I thought, shit, I have to really be present. So that way, when whoever I'm with, I can be present with them in the moment while still appreciating, as Scott says, the beauty of the longing, which I love that you say that, Scott. It's so sweet. So I don't know how much you want me to share.
Actually, that we're going to pause right there, but it was just a chance to see Roxy, and she has worked a lot of that out. Actually, even in that video, she kind of talks further about working it out. And what a perfect segue, talk about presence. Here you are traveling with your beloved. And how are you doing with your discoveries about presence? And, when you're with somebody day after day after day after day, how's that going?
Oh, we were just telling you behind the scenes, as well as like, it's the vacation that we needed, not what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And what's coming up for us is we're really touching the systems of oppression within ourselves and in our communities, and really how to hold ourselves and hold each other and our communities differently, how to be better in that. So we're both working out how to find space. So again, we're pulling a trailer across California, like down California, and we've spent almost 2 weeks together, and we're finding ways to ask for space. And I do want to just love on you, Scott, for giving me amazing tools about, when you first met me. I mean, not first met me, hold on. When you first started working with me a little over a year ago with my then boyfriend, how just like tragic it all was, right? How just, it was really hard, the relationship and the dynamics between us, and me being able to come into your work and your classes and really utilize that information has really given me a lot. So I'm seeing like where I was and where I am and where I can still go. But to be present is like, sometimes I don't, that's the thing. You can't be present all the time. And sometimes it's like, I don't want to be present. I want to like TikTok for the next 2 fucking hours and drink a glass of wine. Like, I just need whatever turn off brain space. And he's like, I want to go watch a thing, or can I read, or well, like whatever. It's really just like informing the other person.
Yeah.
Okay, I need space.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything about you. I just need light.
And that's healthy, you know,
Yeah.
and it's healthy, and it's healthy to be able to ask for it and have a partner that's really comfortable with that. Hey, a lot of people have joined us in the Zoom room, by the way. I want to welcome Margot and Nancy and Linda and John, who was already here, Jeff, Jane, Eloise,
Charlotte,
Charlotte, Andrea, and Al C. So would love to hear from some of you. What have you enjoyed in the past? And what would you like to see more of in the future? And John, by the way, when we were talking about just kind of how things changed, John wrote something that I liked. He wrote, I think that the collective has finally exhaled since the beginning of the year. There is a much more relaxed feeling in the air. Yeah, thank you. That's kind of what I was describing, actually. And Jeff writes, the exploration through camping is cool and away from the base we call home. I was motorhoming for thousands of pop miles with my mate. I also did an RV trip with a previous girlfriend a long time ago. We took the dog and the cat, and you brought your cat. You've got Winston with you. How's
we've
Winston?
lost him twice. But okay, we've lost him twice. But I'm a neurotic mom. Welcome to some really honesty about Trish. I'm a neurotic mom, and I'm terrified of losing him. I think he'd probably come back because he's on a whistle, and he whatever. Like, I've trained him on a whistle since he was born, but we have 2 redundant tracking systems. The cat's doing all right. I think he would rather be hunting.
Yeah.
You know, Scott, I wanted to just point out is like what you were saying, and what John was saying is that I think what has happened is that we've all had to get really, we've all had a lot of time to think about it, all of it, whatever it would be for you. So we've all had a lot of time to think about a lot of things over the course of the last year. And then what's happening right now is that because we actually see the light at the end of the tunnel where we can get our social and our physical needs met again, is that people are relaxing on the need to be seen, heard, and right in a way that we've found online, you know? I think that that's this collective breath is through whatever you might see is like the lessening of the restrictions from, you know, state and government, and the vaccine for some of us who want that.
Yeah.
And I think that in that it gives hope and security and connection. Like, you know, like I'll get to see you now, and I'll get to see my grandpa, and I'll get to see my mom because I'll be vaccinated, and those are the things that I want to do for them and for safety. And I mean, you're, you know, you're safe. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, things do appear to be getting much better, and I'm grateful for that. So again, just want to encourage all the people watching, let us know what you've enjoyed about both this show and also about Saturday Night Alive, because they're really sisters to each other. And what you want to see more of in the future, because we are always organizing and planning. And I kind of thought I wanted to show something. Our dear friend Jay Mayer and Jan have put together a really fun little video. And it's connected to what we've done over Saturday Night Alive over the last 3 months. So although this is straight talk, I always want to encourage people to watch Trisha's wonderful self-love show that she does every Thursday.
Robin Rivera this Thursday was epic. I don't know if you can actually go back and watch her like soul activation. Whoa.
I actually watched and dropped in. I participated. It's towards the end of the show. I think I came in at about 10:45, 10:50 when she did it, and it was beautiful. Very, very beautiful.
It was really amazing. We got into a lot of conversation. Can I share a little bit about it?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
This was a really profound show. I know that I had missed a show, and this one was like the one that I dropped in on, but she had shared that she was an exotic dancer and an escort, and how she came from this place of like how she got there from a place from a belief and an understanding in her own how she grew up of poverty consciousness and lots of abuse in her relationships and her life, and how she rose up in her work and became she went through UC Berkeley when she had a child, and now she's a six-figure coach. She's she's fantastic. Like it was really really special. Um really inspirational for a woman, to watch. So check it out. It was really cool. You can find it on YouTube or you can find it on Facebook, but it was whoa.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to encourage people. The Self Love Show, Thursday mornings, 10 a.m. It's a wonderful show. I'm really proud of Trish and what she does. And you can find all of those by going to YouTube or go to the Love Coach Academy page. It's got all of our past videos, Straight Talk, Saturday Night Live, Self Love Show, and the other things that we all do.
Well,
So
it's your fault,
it, um, uh, so I am going to play a little video that Jay put together just today. So thank you, Jay Mayer, wherever you are. And this just shows what we've been doing on Saturday Night Live so far. Well, in the first 3 months, So I think it's kind of fun. So enjoy. And how many of these shows did you guys watch?
We started off the winter season of 2021 with co-creating the optimum year for us all. Followed by one of our more popular shows, Angelic Activations and Manifesting Miracles. On January 16th, we honored Martin Luther King's vision for community and service. On January 23rd, we featured Our World in Transition. On January 30th was our third edition of our Indigenous Wisdom Show. February 6th, Making Contact with Mark Sims. February 13th, The Greatest Love of All, Self-Love.
Starring Trish.
Building Resilient Communities and Hearts. Our next show featured Teresa Collins and the Global Coherence Pulse. On February 27th, Best Tools and Practices for Optimizing Our Health. March 6th, we celebrated International Women's Day, Feminine Leadership. March 13th, Understanding and Communicating with Our Animal Family. On March 20th, we activated the equinox together. On March 27th, we honored Native American women for Women's History Month, the fourth in our Indigenous Wisdom series.
Isn't that fun?
Amazing.
Yeah, and I love this new thing where we take class photos of all the presenters, right? Exactly, so we can see everybody smiling, except for the Indigenous show. It's so funny. Every class photo, we're all smiling, except the Indigenous one. He just took a snapshot off the computer. We're all like, right. Yeah. But it's really fun putting together all these topics and all these amazing luminaries. And I want to just really acknowledge that obviously the people that we have on Straight Talk, that we have on Saturday Night Live, maybe they're more comfortable public speaking, they've written a book, or they've, they're a little bit more publicly out there. But everybody watching, if you are hearing Trish and my voice right now, you're just as important. Whatever it is you're doing in your life, whatever your service is, maybe it's raising children, maybe it's resting after a hard time, whatever it is you're doing with your life, it's just as important as those of us that get to come on camera and chatter about whatever we're chattering about. So I want to acknowledge that. All right.
You've had incredible speakers on Saturday Night Alive. Deepak Chopra. You've had. I mean, the reason why I bring that one up because it was amazing. Like at the time, that was right around the beginning of COVID. That was, and he was also speaking to us at a time when there was so much civil unrest. Like George Floyd had just been murdered, and like all the cities were like full on fire, and he was speaking to us. I mean, that one meant a lot to me because there was a lot of unrest in me. It's like, what do I do? How do I behave? How do I show up in a way that's powerful and aligned with my values? Like that one was amazing. Yeah, the Indigenous ones have been incredible as well. Just really giving an opportunity for wisdom to be shared. It's just so good. So good.
And the Self-Love Show, both the one you do on Thursday and then we did a Saturday Night Alive inspired by you and by Dawn. We did an entire Saturday Night Alive dedicated on Valentine's weekend to self-love. And by the way, speaking of which, Andrea is asking for you to share your website with us. So maybe maybe you can pull up a little bit about what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of the posters of previous Straight Talks. And while I do that, maybe you can pull up how people can find the Self-Love Show and how people can find Trish. How's that sound?
Okay.
So I am going to, these are some of the shows that we've done on Straight Talk that really made an impression on me as I was going through all of our posters. And this was a recent one. This was from last month. And it was really cool because we had two other love coaches with us. Faraja, who first came to my very first Love Coach Academy retreat 8 years ago. Jessica, one of our favorite love coaches. And just talking about different ways to heal our past and empower our future. So that was a very powerful show for me. And this is something that I want us to do more of. In fact, we're going to do an entire, and I want to make sure, are you seeing just the one poster right now, or are you seeing all the posters?
All of them.
Okay, so I've got to stop and start each time. So, another Love Coach Academy show that I'm super proud of is Heidi and Timothy. Every Tuesday night do a show on addiction, codependence, and recovery. And we had them on our show along with TJ Woodward, who's my coach. He's who I have worked with, and he teaches conscious recovery. And again, I think it's so important. We all have certain things that we are prone to be addictive to or to lose our power to. It might be Haagen-Dazs ice cream at the end of the night, or it might be alcohol, or it might be a relationship. We all struggle with various forms of addiction, codependency, compulsive behavior. And it's a topic that I'm glad we've tackled, and I'm really proud that Heidi and Timothy talk about variations of that every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. So that's a really important topic and important show. And again, you can find out more information about all these shows by going to the Love Coach Academy page on Facebook, and click videos, and then you'll see all the past videos. And God, there's so many that we've done now. I think the last thing I want to talk about for right now is when George Floyd was murdered, Trish and I did several shows in a row just focusing on the Black experience. And that's really important. You know, one of the things that I'm not happy about is that so much of Saturday Night Alive, our crew and our main people, to be honest, it has been mostly white. And we do want to really open it up more. So we try and do shows where we bring friends on. And this was a powerful show we did in honor of Martin Luther King weekend, breaking and healing the barriers of racism. My friend Oshala, who first came to work for me when she was 19 years old, I was 25, and that was 40 years ago. We've known each other for 40 years. And then she brought on some of the people she's been working with. And it's always so powerful for me with our Straight Talk shows where we have brought on people of different racial, economic, and social backgrounds, and just to learn about their experience. And kind of opening back up to you, Trish, what stands out for you from some of those shows?
Perspective. Again, we're dissolving this belief that we've been taught for many years, and it's so subtle sometimes. So, you know, I mean, I hope that everyone watching is can understand what I mean by dissolving how the filter, our own filters of oppressive belief in our being, and that's what stood out for me, is just how compassionate those teachers are, you know, with us. You know, like, we're trying and we're doing what we can, and it's not enough, and we're still here, like, dissolving this belief system that we were taught so young. I'd love to share a little bit about what I texted you about on the road.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you the full spotlight.
Yeah. So, you know, Scott and I play, like, you know, I have my hands in Love Coach Academy a lot. And something that I wanted to bring into Love Coach Academy and Straight Talk is really an more anti-racism classes, like, to really focus on anti-sexism classes, and like how to the domestic violence stuff, you know, how that's been up for me. So having more classes that really look at our belief systems in such a way that we're so indoctrinated here, you know, like from early childhood. I was watching some kids play at the beach today, and I was watching the dynamic between the two kids, which was like a younger daughter and a son, and the parents, and how it was all working and what they were saying to both the boy and the girl. And I was just like, this is where it starts. You know, so that's what I'm, you know, just like bringing that in is more, is a shining the light on the places that we don't see, or we can't see, because we're like, it's out of our perspective, it's out of our understanding, it's a blind spot, it's our shadow. So that's something I'm really excited about coming up with you, Scott.
Beautiful. And it's true, you know, one of the things that has been humbling for me is really realizing how subtle racism can be. And let's face it, we live in a country that was founded to a very large degree on slavery.
Yes.
Where there has been such a long history of slavery, racial discrimination, social injustice. And I've been reading more and more articles about just how systematic white supremacy is. And honestly, I think to a large degree, the recent election was a vote about, are we going in a direction of social and economic justice, or are we going to go in the opposite direction? And I think, that, what happened at the Capitol on January 6th, I watched a lot of videos and it looked like all white people. And boy, if those had been like after the murder of George Floyd, if they had been black, well, I think it would have been a very different reaction, very different response. And so, so many terms that we are used to actually have their origin in racial discrimination or slavery.
Yeah.
Anytime you say the master bedroom, that actually comes from the South, the master's bedroom, right? And so, and I look at myself and I recognize that if I see a white person, my first thought is not, oh, it's a white girl or white guy. But if I see a black man, that's usually the first thought, oh, it's a black guy, right? Not just it's a guy, it's a black guy. And noticing the subtle racism in that, the subtle, parts of it. So we are going to be doing more shows like that on Straight Talk, or maybe even create our own series. What are some of the things you've observed or you'd like to share about that, Trish?
I was just thinking about some of the things that there's there's a lot in my brain right now. Truly around just the language that we use is like most of our language is pretty violent if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that the rule of thumb is actually the size of the switch that you could use to whip your wife with? I know.
Really?
I know, huh? So
Whoa.
when we use these terms, like there's so many things like, oh, shut up. Oh, shut up, Scott. Like that's pretty violent to tell you to shut up. Or, like there's a lot of ways that we communicate. So I'd love to do a little bit more. Hold on one second.
I don't know what she's up to, but I'm sure she's up to something wonderful. I'll come back on to Gallery View for a second. And again, thank you, Nancy and Andrea and everybody for your thoughts and your comments. And we want to hear more. Tell us more. Okay.
Sorry about that. There was
Sorry.
just loudness going on. Yeah, I would love to start talking a lot more about the places that we don't know in our shows. So whether just some ideas of oppressive beliefs that we don't know. So the places of like masculinity and femininity and racism and just in those places. Yeah, I would love to do a lot more about that. And I'd love Scott to do a lot more many more shows on compassionate communication and really the impact of that on the way that we can move through the world in all of these dissolving of these systems that we've white fragility, excellent perspective on white, exactly, like how, because okay, I love that you brought that up, Jane. Is that how can we address the fact that we're sexist, racist, codependent people and actually make change without getting defensive? Because when someone says, Scott, you're racist, what does that make you feel like? I don't want to be racist. Trish, you're racist. I don't mean to be racist. And yes, it's true. I am. I know that.
And that's why the motto of Love Coach Academy is how perfectly human. We have to start there. In order to embrace these parts of ourselves that are hard to look at.
Yes.
How perfectly human. It's not because anybody is bad or stupid or wrong. They're having a perfectly human experience. Now, that doesn't mean it's a get out of jail free card. It's not a hall pass to continue to be racist. But we have to accept that we're all where we are. We're all where we are in our evolution in certain parts of our life. And some of us are highly evolved in one area and blithering idiots in another area.
Exactly. You know, Scott, I love that because it's the humanizing of it all. You know, and because these systems of oppression are they're so subtle. That's why, oh gosh, I mean, what what brands recently have taken um their racist tones out? So the syrup, there's been some like,
Oh, Aunt Jemima. Aunt
yeah,
Jemima. There used to be a chain of restaurants called Sambo's, Little Black Sambo.
yeah,
And you would go into Sambo's, they were bought out by Denny's, but you'd go into Sambo's and they were up there, they had the pictures of Little Black Sambo, and the tiger. My mother, this is a true story. When I was a little boy growing up, and I asked my mother why some of the kids were different colors, she sat me down and she explained that when God was baking all of the little children, he burned some of them. And the ones that turned out burned were the ones that we see that are black. And other children he baked to a perfect golden white. And those are little children like myself. And my mother considered herself to be a good, God-fearing Christian woman, right? I mean, my mother absolutely had no idea that she was racist. Absolutely had no idea, you know? And that's what I grew up with. And I can remember thinking, oh, well, there's the little black burned ones. God didn't like them as much, right? I'm special because I'm white and they're not. They got burned.
that's the exact stuff that we teach our children, but in like even some more subtle ways. It's just crazy. Oh God, yeah, I'm super like trying to like strip away at it over the last few weeks even.
Yeah.
Something I'd also like to hear a lot more about, Scott, is domestic violence. We're a few weeks past the anniversary of my friend's murder, and that was a big thing. You know, I just, I called you up recently and was really like, I need to talk about this. I just wrote a letter, scrolling through all of my text messages. I just wrote a letter to the DA that was really hard about my friend's murder, and all the text messages that she ever shared with me that were implying that. And so I'd love to hear more from people who are on the front lines of that, how to see and understand what violence looks like, and what what violence of all of the, I'd love to. I know these are really heavy topics, and I know that the people who are watching, but these are places that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
If we're teaching our children through our behaviors violence, we're just going to create more violent or terrified children. If we're going to create more abusive codependent patterning, we're just going to continue this cycle, and people are going to die and be hurt. Like, it's just not okay anymore. We can't be abusive to any of our brethren, our sisterin, our humans, regardless of age, race, or whatever. Like, we can't do that anymore. We can't abuse animals. Like, and I think that these are the conversations that need to be had on Straight Talk. And as well as the fun ones, let's talk about sex. Let's invite our polyamorous friends over, and let's invite our like super tantric friends over, and I'd love to hear more about that too.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a couple topics that a lot of people don't know, like aren't really that clear on. And I think that having the conversation about it and just being honest about it, making it okay to talk about it.
Totally agree. I want to just acknowledge some comments from our chat box, and thank you for all that you've shared. Thank you, Nancy. Nancy writes, we are one human race with 7 billion people with shades of brown skin. We are all people of color. This is the new paradigm. The sun turns our skin lighter or darker brown. Absolutely. And then Al writes, the we are all people of color concept is valid. Thank you for that. And just context, the letter to the DA that Trish had to write was for her girlfriend who was murdered by her girlfriend's husband.
And there's also racial dynamics there, which is, it's complicated. She was a almost 50-year-old white woman with a 25-year-old black man. It's just, it's so deep and complicated to even listen and like know what I know now. You know, just like, oh, it's so much.
Let's just take a minute. And I just want for all of us to take a couple of breaths and maybe think about someone we know that's in a abusive relationship. Or maybe some of you that are actually watching or listening. And if you're in a relationship where there's verbal abuse, psychic abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, bless you, out. She said, see what happens when we tune into that? I gotta get rid of those demons, you know? Maximum grace. May we all find our way and support our friends out of abusive relationship. And let's, you know, and we don't do that by making the other person bad or wrong. When we can, we educate and see if people can change behavior. And if they can't change behavior, then we support change. You know, it's both Trish and I make our living as coaches. And I've really found that most of the people that come to me, most couples and families that come to me, they're ready for a big change. And you know, I love keeping couples together. I just performed a wedding ceremony 2 weeks ago for a couple that I worked with. They went through a lot of hard stuff. They almost broke up many times. They did the work, and I had the joy of performing the wedding ceremony, and they're doing great. You know, about a third of the couples I work with, they're done. And it's time for them to move on. And I end up helping them lovingly, consciously changing the form of their relationship. And that's okay. Bless you. I'm going to put the speaker.
You keep outing me.
So anyway, I just want to say that it's, you know, it's wonderful to be able to stay in a relationship, and it's wonderful to work through the hard stuff. That's fantastic. And sometimes we get stuck in a relationship where the patterns are so ingrained. The patterns of love, hate, can't live with you, can't live without you, lead to what happened to Trisha's friend.
And that's the truth. I wrote a really beautiful post today. I don't know if you've seen it yet. It was really close to the show. But one thing that I've been thinking about is this thing that Misha is my lover is teaching me, especially around anti-racism. But it works so well in so many places. Is love is stopping the harm. That's what love is. And regardless of whether it is, you know, in a relationship or with your pet or with, you know, your friends of a different origin, like it is like love is stopping the harm right now.
I'm going to your page right now, actually.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful post. It's, you know, every Friday I write a post. And who knows what's going to come out of my brain in the moment, but this has been up for me, obviously. So I mean, if you guys are interested in my Friday random posts, you can befriend me on Facebook. I've been thinking about actually posting them on my page, my business page, Embodied Happiness, on Facebook, rather than my personal page, so it's easier to find. But yeah, did you know that according to the CDC, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 will experience physical violence within their intimate partnership at some point during their lifetime?
Wow.
And 1 in 3 women and nearly 1 in 6 men will experience some form of sexual violence during their lifetime. And it was kind of, I couldn't find the exact number, but it was surprisingly high. Like there was inconsistent numbers around how many people die at the hands of their intimate partner. Like, wow. Just, like, can I read some of this just
Yes,
for
yes.
all of you, watching? You deserve to feel safe in your home, and you deserve to feel safe in your body. You deserve to be able to speak your truth and feelings without violence. You deserve love without abuse. You deserve compassion and safety. And if you don't understand what love without violence or love without abuse is, just let's have a conversation about it. And I can also send you some videos and like let's have this conversation so that we can start to restructure the way that we see love. I mean, yes, we're going to be human and we're going to have upsets and we're going to have, anger and we're going to have sadness and whatever human feelings come up.
Hmm.
And we don't have to perpetuate the harm. So,
Um, I want to read some of the comments, and thank you, Trish. I'm loving where you're going with this. I want to read some of the comments that are coming into our Zoom room, and I really appreciate when people take the time to write. Jane writes, having conversations about these topics help us to get unstuck when certain aspects of our lives aren't working. It is better to get out of toxicity and focus on the humanity of the lives we are living. Practice positive living to avoid these issues. Beautiful. Thank you, Jane. And Nancy, who's written many, many wonderful things, but she writes a couple of things. She writes, anti-racism must be reinterpreted as a lack of equality. Why attract more racism or anti-racism or pro-racism? No common sense. And she's, I know that she's a stickler on choice of words. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And again, I've actually pulled up Trisha's website because people are asking, they want to see. So there is, you just go to facebook.com / and then her name, which is
it's Trish Wright Loves. So Trish Wright, all of those words
WRIGHT.
have capitals, and I've put it in the box. So it's capital T, Trish Wright, capital W, capital L, Trish Wright Loves.
And look, there she is right now.
I know.
And there's the post she was talking about love is stopping the harm. So you can find Trish. And I also, while we're on it, I want to show people the Self-Love Show. And so again, people can find the Self-Love Show on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com / Self-Love Show. And there is Trish and her partner Dawn. And you can go back and watch previous shows, like the amazing one that she had yesterday.
God, there's been so many good ones. Oh. And I do want to speak to Al. Could one saying we are all people of color be a considered a subtle microaggression? Yes, it could be. And I think that we all can be doing better here. And it's going to take a lot of practice. Yeah. And I think that when we say some of these things like we're all people of color, like God, I mean, I did my 23andMe and I am all over the board here. And I was taught something very specific from my family. I grew up in Montana. Like it's very specific. For me to unfilter that is taking a lot of looking at all the facets and the understanding of my own psychology, of my own understanding about being a woman in the world.
Wow.
Like it's a full on, like, you get to choose. And you, Scott, you've been doing it all along. Like I've been seeing you like, oh God, I'm actually recognizing like here, what my privilege looks like and how it looks. And we've had conversations about it. So,
absolutely. I mean, I'm a tall white man. I have every possible advantage. Every possible advantage.
You even got handsome privilege.
Thank you. Al brings up a good one too about when people say all lives matter in response to Black Lives Matter. And I could argue intelligently on both sides of that. But you know what? The point is that right now, we really do need to focus on Black Lives Mattering. Yes, there's incidences of all races. And of course, everybody matters. But, you know, white people have not been enslaved the way that black people have been enslaved. White people are not incarcerated at the level of percentage and the level of racism and the level of prejudice that black people are. And it's just really time for us to say, okay, yeah, of course my life matters. But you know what? Let's focus now on Black lives.
It's what happens when we say all lives matter. And of course all lives matter. Like, of course, that is the truth. And that until we really truly bring equity into the way that we hold each other in balance, that statement is actually harmful. Because if we say, oh well, all lives matter, then we're continuing to wipe off the experience and the harm that we're still creating by not hearing or stepping into being loving and open to other people's experiences. Like,
You know, Jane wrote it really nicely. When we say all lives matter, we whitewash the Black experience and how it is so very different from the white experience. And that's really the point, you know, white. And just learning, I mean, the term whitewash, I don't think I knew that term a year ago, or maybe a year and a half ago. And learning how we whitewash so many things, because it's really uncomfortable and painful to look at our history. It's painful to look at the shadow side. And, you know, even taking it away from the black-white thing, look, we all have done things we regret. We all have made choices that have had hurtful consequences on other human beings. And it takes a lot of courage to be willing to look at those choices that we've made and to look at the consequences. But I'd love to give a little tool, and I'll put the spotlight on myself actually while I do this. I'm going to give a little tool for how to do that. So for those of you in our Zoom room, for those of you watching on Facebook, and for those of you watching the replay, because actually the majority of people who watch this show watch the video replay, I want to invite all of you to think of a moment in your life when you made a choice that you really regret, a choice that had hurtful consequences on at least one other human being. Okay, you're not going to share it with anybody. So pick something in your own memory, in your own knowledge of life and of your life. And as you pick that one moment, that one thing you did that you regret, that caused harm or hurt to another person, my question for you, if you go back to that moment, the moment where you said what you said or did what you did or didn't do what you wish you had done, you were desperate. In that moment, you were desperate. What were you desperate for? Were you desperate for safety? Were you desperate to be heard? Were you desperate to be understood? Were you desperate for connection? What were you desperate for in that moment? And that's not to condone it, it's to understand it. When we make choices we regret, we're almost always desperate to meet some precious need, to be safe, to be heard, to be connected, to be invisible, right? Whatever it is, we're desperate to need something in that moment. And so I invite us all just to do that, to remember that we didn't make that choice with the intention of hurting that person. We made that choice because we were desperate to meet some need. And in the process, someone got hurt. And if you feel guilty, congratulations, you're not a sociopath. Yay, you feel guilty, you care. Because underneath guilt is care. Absolutely. Back to gallery view and to Trish.
I love your compassionate approach. It's taught me so much. I'm constantly going back and okay, how do I drop back in? And you know, just to come back to, we're going to make a lot of mistakes going forward, and to find compassion in with ourselves and with other people when we make mistakes. And it's not, again, about the activisty, like you're wrong and bad conversation. It really is like, how do we do better? Like there's a lot of us who want to do better, and we're doing all of that, you know? Scott, after the show, I'm excited to share a couple people with you that I would love to have the entire community of Love Coach Academy and and really share some of the classes that are, like, you know, pushing forward anti-racist conversations.
Absolutely
So we
fantastic.
can do better, you know. I'm so excited about, gosh, you know, actually I'm gonna roll it back. What I really love about Straight Talk is that it's honest, and it invites so many people to come in and share raw truth. And I think that, you know, and there's a thing about Straight Talk that looks at a lot of places, like where we're trying to give a lot of conversation or a lot of perspective in the world, not just a right and wrong, but like, hey, can we show up in holding space for all that is,
Mm.
you know? And that's what I think is really important about Straight Talk, and that's what I love about you, is that you humanize. Yes, I've been using this humanize so well, that you can acknowledge it, and that you can just expand your heart and your loving care. And that's what Straight Talk is for me, is an opportunity to share honest and raw conversation, and to hear your perspective and to hear their perspective and whoever's in the room with us, and to hear the people who are participants and the listeners and the watchers.
And we want to hear more from you. Definitely would love to. Oh, Jay Mayer has joined us. Jay, we showed your video earlier. Thank you so much for making it. I really want to thank Jay for all of his support. And thank you, everybody. We are wrapping up, but I want to just promote a couple of things that are coming up. Tomorrow is Saturday Night Alive, and it's going to be a really, really lovely show. It's all about manifesting prosperity in a natural economy. We've got amazing people speaking. We've got Lynn Twist, John Perkins, Charles Eisenstein, Jeff Vanderkloot. I mean, these are all really significant leaders in our world. Some are baby boomers like Lynn and John, and some are kind of next generation like Charles and Jeff. And as always, we've got wonderful music. My dear friend Lakshmi Devi and Daniel Balone are both going to be playing, and they're fantastic. And we've got our mentalist magician Paul Draper coming back, and Swami Beyondananda. So definitely join us on Saturday night for tomorrow night. And that's, of course, as always, at 6 o'clock Pacific time. And then on Sunday, for my Sacred Sunday show, I'm bringing a woman that I met. She was on Saturday Night Alive, Saturday Night Alive a few months ago. And I wanted to learn more. Her name is Cynthia Tina. And although she looks very young there, she's actually traveled all over the world studying different intentional communities. And so she's got this amazing slideshow, and she's going to talk about communities all around the world that have an intentional consciousness. That's Sunday morning at 10 a.m. So definitely join us for that. And then a reminder, on Thursday mornings, you got to go to the Self-Love Show. Every Thursday morning, 10 a.m., go to the Self-Love Show for more information on that. Again, you can go to facebook.com, and it's every Thursday, 10 a.m. You definitely want to be on the Self-Love Show. And then the very last thing I want to promote tonight is next week's Straight Talk. We are bringing one of our very favorite human beings on to the show. Elizabeth April.
Yay!
And Elizabeth just wrote a book. It came out on April 1st called You're Not Dying, You're Just Waking Up. I like that. I like that title. And Elizabeth, she's way cool. So join us next week. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. And Jane says she's trying to get on Trisha's page, not
Working
having
on it right
any
now.
luck.
I would love, and I also want to say one more thing. Okay, so I sent it to you. It's Trish Wright Loves. Every word has a capital. Wright as in W-R-I-G-H-T, W-R-I-G-H-T, right here. But I would like to say that just to Nancy, who's speaking about mistakes and words matter. And as much, I do believe that. Yes, I do truly believe that. And we also have to understand how other people speak.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so I don't use the word healing in the world, because I believe that if healing, then it means something is broken. So I use it very specifically, and I don't believe that I'm doing my healing work. Like, that just doesn't work for me, because I'm not broken, and I don't believe that I'm broken, and I don't believe any of my clients coming to me are broken. Now, what I mean by mistakes is that there's things that, Scott, I could just do something that you might be like, wow, lady, I don't know even where your brain was. And be like, I don't know either, and that's, it's like finding a language that we all can. What did I mean by mistakes? Do I think God is a mistake? No. And that's not what I'm not implying that. I'm also, an issue that also implies some negativity. And there's just, sometimes we don't have the right word as a human being, and it's really looking under to find the intention, right? I'm not, Harvard educated, and I don't have a lexicon of like a zillion words. So this is what the language that I got. But I think that if there's questions, there's asking, like, hey, what do you mean by mistakes? And we can really find the loving compassion in those places. Like, I'm not going to negate someone. If someone says, oh, I'm healing, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, girl, I can't believe that blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to do those things. I'm just going to be like, okay, tell me more about what you mean by healing. What does it look like? Scott, where are you at? Like, what's this word mean to you? Because I think that it's really about connection, and it's really truly about finding the compassionate, loving approach, because we can't negate someone's reality and expect them to raise their consciousness. We can't do that, because they won't see it, they can't hear it. It shuts their reality down on a psychological level. So there, that's what I wanted to say.
And it's self-righteous. And it's self-righteous. When we decide that this word is good or this word is bad, then we're just playing into the same polarized stuff. And so a wonderful self-reflection is, wow, am I right now trying to listen and understand this person?
Yes.
Or am I trying to convince them that my belief is somehow better than, right? And God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So, let's all practice more listening, more seeking to understand each other, not trying to convince each other of anything, just listen. You really like healing. You like that word. Oh, wow. For Trish, she doesn't like to see it that way because of what it means to her. For us just all to work, oh, you love Buddha. Wow, you love Jesus. Wow, you love yourself, right? Let's just all listen to each other. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Really important piece. And that's what Love Coach Academy really is presented on, is compassion and empathy and understanding others. And that really truly is. And that's how we can grow as people. It's not necessarily about, just because you want to use one word and not another doesn't mean that you're any lower or not as high consciousness. And it's not that I feel like I'm lowering to you. I feel like I'm actually connecting to you, and we can grow together from there. And that's what I love, like, for all of you who are interested in really getting in the conversation and upgrading your relationship skills, Love Coach Academy and its amazing coaches has so many opportunities for you. And I know Relationship Essentials will happen again when it does. And I think that's a really powerful place to be.
Yeah, she brought it up. Next Saturday, a week from tomorrow, we are going to do a special edition, if you will. It's going to be Saturday morning at 10 a.m. I'm pulling up, I wasn't planning on promoting this, but a week from tomorrow, we're going to be doing the essentials of love coaching. So if you want to learn more about Love Coach Academy, what it means to be a love coach, join us Saturday. It's free, Saturday morning, 10 a.m. And you can private message me. I'll send you more details, or keep an eye out on my Facebook page. And I love what Jay just wrote. Thank you, Jay. Jay writes, thank you for all the great shows you do and sponsor. Thank you for blessing Saturday Night Alive and everyone here. And he also wrote, where is it? He had something else he wrote. Inquiry is such an important part of Love Coach Academy. That and empathy are our superpowers. And we all are constantly learning how to have more compassion for ourselves and for each other. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. I love you, Trish.
I love
Have
you
a-
too, Scott. I
Take
love you, Jay.
Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. Oh, and thank you for loving Saturday Night Live as well. All right, God's blessings, everybody. See you tomorrow night on Saturday Night Live.
Bye.
Bye-bye.